Hi, my name is Christian, and you're watching Barrel Proof. So tonight we have on tap the Woodinville Private Barrel. So it's a single barrel select. This is out of Total Wine. Again, not a huge fan of Total Wine. This is one of the few places I could find the barrel strength of the Woodinville. And most of the time, when you find this in a store, it's the 90 proof bourbon or the 90 proof rye. So this is the barrel proof bourbon. I believe it is. Yeah. Okay. Just making sure it was actually a bourbon, not like a malted or whatever. And so this is one of the few distilleries in Washington State that distills their own uh, juice and they age it themselves. So they are not buying this from MGP. This is all made from start to finish in Washington State. And for that reason, I decided to go ahead and buy this. The 90 proofs go for like $35. This the barrel proof is around. I think I paid $62 for this, and I picked this up when I was in Florida. I have not seen it around here in Maryland, but because of the fact that it was one of those few, if not the only distillery that does make it all within the state, I thought it was worth a try. I really like trying the lesser known bourbons or whiskeys that you'll find throughout the country that make it from start to finish instead of just sourcing it from, say, MGP. There's nothing wrong with sourcing from MGP. I just will give a preference to that if given the chance. So this comes in at, I believe, 118 proof. I'm sorry, 114 proof. So it's 57% ish. And it's a total wine pick. Like I mentioned, it is a single barrel. So this barrel might be much better than, say, another barrel that you would get from just randomly buying it from Woodinville directly or just at a store. So I don't know of the mash bill. Let's see what it says in the back here. It says distilled, bottled, and aged by Woodinville Whiskey Company in Woodinville, Washington. So what I was told is that they grow the grain west of the Cascades and they trek all the stuff on the other side of the Cascades, and that's where they age it. Where, because in Washington State you have a very rainy, moderate climate on the west coast, and you have more of a desert, semi-arid uh, areas. Let's say if you're like in Spokane or just in Yakima. I'm not that well versed in Washington State geography, except for the fact that I know it's very dry. It's much drier and hotter east of the Cascades. So as you can see, I have tried this out before, and I'd like to give you guys a review on this. So I actually had a little sip of this before. There's a little bit left in this Glen, so we're gonna. That's a pretty decent cork pop there. The bottle is quite nice little square glass. At first, I didn't like these bottles when I started buying them because they don't fit well with, like, say, next to this Weller or Michter's. They just circular, and back in preschool days, you just don't put a square into a circle. So anyway, not much of a gurgle anymore because I have gotten a decent amount into this bottle, but put this back on here. And so on the nose, it's relatively sweet. I don't know the exact mash bill, but I would guess it's a very low rye mash bill. I should probably have looked it up before I made this review, but not a big deal. So on the nose, again, caramel, brown sugar, a little bit of citrus there. Find that a lot in the cask strength bourbons. Not nothing really like not a crazy profile going on there, but it smells a lot like a lot of Buffalo Trace products. It smells a lot like Elmer T. Buffalo Trace. I believe this is a 6 year, maybe it's 4 or 6. I can't remember exactly. I looked it up. Again, didn't remember to put it on there, but we're not professionals here. We're just drinking bourbon and giving reviews. So I'm gonna give you a sip. It doesn't coat the palate very much, but the flavor is excellent. Because with it being barrel proof, it does give you that full flavor that you're not going to get in a 90 proof bourbon. It's not watered down. That's what I really like about full proof, barrel proof stuff. And it's very reminiscent of Buffalo Trace products like Buffalo Trace and Elmer T. Lee, but nicer. In fact, I would if I had given the choice of drinking Elmer T. Lee or Buffalo Trace or this, I will definitely pick this any day of the week. So I'm going to give it another sip here. Again, not too thick. Viscosity is kind of slight to medium. That's probably one of the downfalls of this, but the flavor more than makes up for it. And sometimes you just don't want something that's going to coat your mouth and just stay oily in your mouth for minutes. Then you just kind of want a great tasting bourbon that is just going to be something you're going to want to reach for constantly. I've reached for this thing. This has been, I haven't had this, that I only opened this maybe a couple weeks ago. So the fact that I have this many to choose from and this much is gone already should tell you something. I really do enjoy trying out stuff from the other states besides Kentucky, Tennessee, your typical bourbon or whiskey states, and seeing what their flavor profile will come from. For example, if from Texas, you're going to get a high barrel impact just from the heat. Same thing goes for something like Oklahoma or even in California, depending on where you are. So this has a little bit, I would say the difference between this and say something like a Buffalo Trace product is it has a little bit more barrel impact, a little more oakiness about it than you would get at the age that it is versus Buffalo Trace, just because of that extreme heat that you'll get, because it will get into the hundreds in eastern Washington regularly in the summertime, where that may not happen in Kentucky. So would I recommend this? Absolutely. Is it worth $62? Yes. Am I able to find it here in Maryland? I have not seen it. I've gone to way too many liquor stores looking around trying to find other stuff, like looking for back